Welcome back to the class, everyone. Today we're going to be talking once again about roster building, specifically about the characters that you shouldn't be taking into relics. I know this can be kind of a touchy subject, especially for people who have already kind of made these decisions and they've already invested in the rosters this way, and a lot of them have come to really enjoy that, and that's okay. I don't want to take away from that. But and overall, when you're building a roster, especially from a pretty low point, what I want to do is I want to give a look back on characters that I can see right now that just do not have a place really anywhere, not even in the end game, but even towards the mid game. Because one of the things that CG has done as of recently is they've made almost every, not every, but almost every character viable in some way, either as a requirement, or they have a super cool Omicron, or there's a new character that's come out and lifted them out of the dirt. That being said, there's still quite a few characters that just are not good, have no place in the game, and you should really, really avoid relicking anytime soon. So first up, we are going to mention that this is not an exhaustive list. There are plenty of kind of, quote unquote, just junk characters that have no place out there. And I know we'll get a little bit of flack for having Cup here because he's kind of a fan favorite, but you can have Cup, that's fine, but he just has no real viability in the game. Best case scenario, he's going to be like a JMK. Fifth add-on, Ugnaught. Ugnaught doesn't even have a tag. He's support, I guess. And then we have like some pretty bad Jedi, similar to Eth Koth, as well as Kit Fisto in here, and then just Lobot, who has been essentially completely replaced by Sortie, and she's better than him in like every single way possible. So there are a group of characters that are just kind of at the bottom that are very obvious. I don't have to tell you that Ugnaught is a bad investment for relics. And that's really what we're going to be talking about here today. And especially when we get to the second part of this, there are a lot of these characters that you at some point or another, and you can see this from how my roster is built, you do want to take to like gear 11 or gear 12. But what we're really talking about here is not taking these characters into relics. And I would even go as far as to say as low relics, like relic 3. Like you should probably just not be farming these characters at all. Maybe even beyond the shards. The shards might be needed to get a character. I guess Sabine could be needed for Thrawn, but let's just go ahead and get into it. First up is going to be IPD himself, and there's just really nothing valuable about Imperial Probe Droid. There used to be a time, probably about a year or two ago, where Imperial Probe Droid was actually a pretty good, solid relic choice, especially when Vader was capable of countering Rey, because what you would do is you would come in here with this detectability, and you would remove all the stuff that they had on them. Not only that, but you also land target lock, which, if you, depending on the team you're using, could line things up really well. I think it was also used in the GG Nuke meta. That being said, both of those metas are gone. If you have an IPD from a relic from those times, don't feel bad. You got use out of them. But from a roster building standpoint right now, this is something that I would advise all new mid-game players to just stay very far away from. He has no place, really. He's not going to fit in on a General Grievous team, and he's not in the ideal lineup in a Sortie team. He's not in any ideal lineup for the Empire. They've gotten a ton of really good characters, and I'm going to guess, with the way Star Wars is going, with series like Bad Batch and the new TB revolving around the Empire's rising time, there's going to be a lot better characters that are coming in. Maybe they lift him up, and that'll be cool, and that then relic him, then make that decision. But as far as right now, he just really doesn't have a home, and certain parts of his kits have just aged really poorly. His instant defeat on himself, you deal massive damage to one target enemy, and it's 99k or 99,000 damage, and nowadays that's not enough. Like, there are a ton of tanks at relic levels. Even if he's at relic level, it'll just tank that and they'll move on and they'll be fine. Next up is going to be Sabine, and she's actually my favorites right now. You can see that here because I'm trying to take her to gear 11 so that I can unlock all of her ship abilities, and she'll be great there. And you can even, in the earlier game, if you're trying to still use Phoenix and use them to the rest of their ability, again, there's a pretty good argument for taking her to gear 11 or maybe even gear 12. But I want to tell people, or essentially shy away from her at relics. Her really doesn't add enough to the ship to warrant it, and as well as a character, she's pretty darn outdated. I know a lot of people, when Maul first came out, they're like, oh, she's going to be great. She's going to do this. She's going to do that. She really just does not add that much to the team. She was great in theory. And one of the big issues are her just base stats. They're just really low for an attacker. She's super squishy. She's not that fast. Putting her on a Maul team, I wouldn't consider her in the ideal 5 or even in the ideal 6, because it's not uncommon for on the Maul team to have to, to take out Django or to have to take out Bam, or to have to take out, probably not Bo, but or Armor. Armor is a good example to go and help another Galactic Legend, but there's still, I would gear I would put in 6 other Mandalorians before I would put her on the team. If she's a favorite of yours, you like her, you think her cool, her Zeta's pretty cool, but other than that, the kit just leaves a lot to be desired, and she doesn't have a real place at the very end game. Next up is going to be Nightsister Acolyte. Nightsister Acolyte, again, this might be a character that a lot of people have already at Relics, and that decision was probably made in wisdom, because for the longest time, you could do this really wacky cheese with her, where you could have zombies sitting out there and her sitting in stealth, and as long as the enemy team didn't have an AoE, the two of them just never died. They could not die, and in fact, this was used in a really popular JMK counter before they buffed JMK and allowed the high ground to dispel stealth, because JMK, a lot of the traditional teams don't have an AoE on them. It's like Cat, Padme, Ahsoka, GK, and JMK. There's no AoE there. They don't get to kill her. Since then, you know, they buffed JMK as the high ground he gets to, or he always had the high ground, but he now ignores or dispels stealth, so it kind of ruins that, but really it's not usable on any team right now. The 5 main Nightsisters that everyone is using, there actually is a bit of a debate between the 5th one, whether it is Spirit or whether it's Tally, and that we won't talk about the debate now. I think there's good arguments for both sides, but as far as Initiate goes, or not Initiate, but as far as Acolyte goes, there's just really no place for her right now until Nightsister Datacrons come back, and she's the one that gets the broken one this time. Don't bother taking her up further, as cool as she looks. And next one, this is probably the most controversial one we have on the list. It's going to be HK-47. Again, I know that a lot of people have HK-47 at Relics, and again, at the time, those decisions were made in wisdom, but now he just has really no place in the home. With Malgus coming in, we'll even talk about Sith Empire without Malgus. With Malgus coming into the game right now, he can't be used. You can't use any non-Sith on the team, otherwise you start to lose a fair amount of bonuses. And HK-47 isn't Sith, so he's pretty much immediately kicked off that team. And even if he's not kicked off that team, even if Malgus still doesn't exist right now, 99% of the times you use Darth Revan, you don't really need HK-47 there. The one example that I can think of is for Darth Revan, pre-Malgus to beat JML, you need HK-47. You need the big hits. You need the physical damage is actually what you need, because Darth Revan and Bastila Shan Fallen are special attackers, and JML's resistance is through the roof. They can't kill him. You need HK there to actually do the damage. That being said, the vast majority of people I know are not using Darth Revan to counter Jedi Master Luke. Again, at least without Malgus. So he's pretty much kicked out of that team as well. And then even in droids, I guess he can be used in Hera Sortie, but again, the ideal team isn't there. So if you're going to go after a character and you want to have the ideal team, you should be already, like, the rest of the Sortie's team that's ideal is actually in Relics already. If you have if you have Galactic Legends, BB-8, R2-D2, IG-88, and probably Port T3, who I also don't have geared. So he doesn't make the list. T3's Relic worthy at some point, but yeah, HK just does not have a place right now. And I know a lot of people really like him, but it's just not considered wise as of the game right now. And last but not least is going to be Mission. Mission, again, similar to HK, kind of had a time in the sun at one point. Right now, as far as things go, just does not have a place. Interestingly enough, Zalbar has aged pretty well. He's a really, really good tank, and he can be used in a lot of teams versatilely, the way his taunt procs up. He also has another way to get taunt. There's a lot of scoundrel stuff going on as well. But Mission herself, just assisting and using this basic and inflicting daze for 2 turns every other turn, it's cool. It was really cool 4 years ago, but now it brings so little to the table. It's very hard to excuse using her. And again, you can still use her. Let's say you need a filler team and you're trying to stretch your roster, you don't have enough teams, and you need to put down like a Dooku team on defense, and she stealths and Zalbar will taunt when Dooku stealths everyone. That's cool. Use her at gear 11, enjoy her at gear 11, maybe take her to gear 12 for the Malak event and whatnot, but ultimately this is not a character that you want to take into Relics, and that's ultimately what this video is about. Not just, HK, we have him gear 12, because, again, at the Darth Revan event, probably didn't really even need him that high, but we used him for a little bit there before, we built up Marauder, or we built up Set, but ultimately, yeah, just characters that have some use in the game, have probably had a lot better use in the game, but ultimately, right now, don't have a major place, at least at relics, and you can probably get away with what they need before that at a lower gear level. So that is going to be it for today. Let me know which characters I missed, and if you really, I think this is inevitable, but if you really want to come in and, you know, stand up for your HK or stand up for your Sabine, let me know where you're using them and how much you enjoy them. So that is going to be it for today. Remember to like and subscribe, and as always, stay awesome.